Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
All right, travelers, we are here at the favorite segment of our show, man, where we get a chance to talk with a traveler, hear their stories, their behind the scenes journey to where they are now. And it's none other than Kyle Stephenson. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us on the Success Journey show today. How are you, man?
I'm better than I should be, better than I deserve, as people say. So life is good. Very fortunate. Life is good, and hopefully I can share some ways so that we make sure that the listeners also have just good experiences throughout their lives.
Yes, sir. Love it. But man, we are honored to have you on as a guest today. Why don't you start off by sharing with our listeners, our travelers from all around the world, just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So to establish a little bit of credibility in what I do, I start, and this will be probably a 2 or 3 minute segment, but I start with, I grew up in a small town in New Jersey, Willingboro, New Jersey. And my father was an immigrant from Jamaica. My mother was a 3rd grade school teacher. So there is not really anything special about that, except for that they both believed in education and hard work, and that those would be the keys to success. I was fortunate enough to attend the University of Pennsylvania and play football there, and ended up really learning that there were different levels of success. So growing up in New Jersey in a blue collar neighborhood, the way that we look at success is that you're either a doctor or a lawyer. That's what I learned. And I really didn't understand business. I didn't understand what that looked like. And I didn't understand there were different levels of success. And attending Penn, I was able to understand. I remember being in a dorm one evening and people were talking about what they wanted to be. And at that point, I was a freshman. I want to be a doctor because that would be success in the world that I grew up. And I remember one kid saying, I want to be the president. I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. The president of what? He said the president of the United States. That wasn't something we learned growing up in Willingboro, New Jersey. Like, it wasn't like, hey, listen, I'm going to be like the president. So anyway, so my the individuals that I touched at that university allowed me to understand that there are all different types of levels of success. And you listen to some of the individuals that have graduated from the school, or you understand what Wall Street is and investment banking. And so one of the things that I became fascinated in is real estate. And I was so intrigued by it that when I graduated, I started to read books and books and books on, how do you get into real estate, no money down, all types of ways to leverage oneself in your early 20s. And in the early 20s, failure really isn't something you think about. You think about, hey, this is how I can succeed. The other piece at that time, this is in the early 90s, late 80s, is there was Donald Trump. Donald Trump was just doing everything in New York. He was the man. And as a lot of individuals are not aware, Donald Trump actually started with $250 million from his father, Fred Trump. So if you really want to kind of peel the onion back, you really need to take a look at what Fred Trump did.
Correct.
Donald Trump actually has done okay, but most people that are probably listening to this have generated a greater return on their investments than Donald Trump. Because if you start off with 250 million and you're a billionaire, over 50 years, it's not really that great of a return. It really isn't. So anyway, I started buying real estate at a very, very young age in my early 20s. And to fast forward, I continued to buy real estate while I was in a professional career, I was selling medical equipment.
Hmm.
And I was pretty good at medical equipment and I was pretty good at sales, but I lived a very, very frugal lifestyle. And I continued to invest more and more in real estate. And so over a 15-year period of professional medical sales, I kept taking that money, buying a little piece of real estate, buying another piece of real estate. And I also then had some successful experiences with it that I would share with individuals, not egotistically, but hey, I was able to buy this and this thing makes me a few $100s a month. And we'll get into specifics as this goes on and continues. But I then had individuals that said, well, Kyle, how about if I put a little money with you? Because I can't get a certain amount of returns. You establish this trust and this track record. Well, it got to the point that it made more sense. My true love was real estate. I didn't mind doing it 7 days a week. And so I went to the company I was working for and I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to retire out of corporate America. They were very gracious about that. And so I ended up getting to train the guy that took over my territory, and I'm still very, very close with a lot of people that I worked with, but I ended up following my dream. I made that decision in 2007. Not the best time to make a real estate transition, considering you couldn't borrow a stick of gum about 18 months later. I mean, you couldn't finance a breath mint. So that's a whole nother, we can talk about overcoming some things, but it's, it was rough. Right. And so, but what we did is we had to pivot a little bit. So, and we'll talk about it. There were a lot of banks that were in trouble, obviously. Yep. So I ended up going to banks and saying, hey, I know you have a lot of people that aren't paying their notes because they're mismanaging their property. How about if you introduce them to me? I'll manage it for them and I'll get your note paid. And so I'll get them current on note payments. So that's really how we got into third party, is I went to lenders who didn't have any, they didn't have any money coming in, and I got the lenders whole. And that's really how I got the ball rolling. And fast forward now to 2023, we manage 4,000 units. We're in, Arlington, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, Tidewater, Raleigh, Petersburg. So, and we have communities and we manage for lenders and we do all types of different things, for insurance companies, you name it. So we're very fortunate. I'm making it sound simple. It wasn't.
Yeah. No, don't worry.
And it isn't.
Trust me, I know. We're gonna talk about it. I love it. I'm loving the story.
So that's the deal. But I'm very fortunate now, and whatever I can do to help the listeners, I want to do that. So yes, if there's some questions, we can talk about it. We can kind of get after it. But hopefully this establishes some credibility.
Yes. Before we go there, Kyle, I'm gonna tell you, Ricky cannot escape Jamaicans. Let me tell you something. There's people now, no lie, that knew us from way back because we're from New York, and they're like, Rick is not Jamaican.
I love it.
Because if we go, I guarantee you right now, if Ricky and I go to Alaska for some kind of journey, and when we land there, I don't have to say it. Rick is gonna be like, "Yo, let's look for a Caribbean restaurant."
Yeah.
We need some goat, man. We need some goat.
Yeah, and Ricky cook it too. He cook it too.
Yeah, and I cook it too.
So he cannot escape. He can't escape us. He can't escape us. I'm telling you.
Mind you,
might as well just join us, man.
Mind you, my wife is a
Trinidadian.
Oh!
And I'm from the good old South. My family's from the good old South. Yeah. North Carolina. So yeah. Can't, like Marlon said, it can't get away, man. It's in my blood, man. I figure at some point it has to be somewhere in my DNA where it's there in line. It is. I just don't know who that relative was, but it's there.
Carnation, man. You just if you go under some sort of, if you become hypnotized at some point, they'll be able to kind of get you back.
Pull it out there. And
you just pull it out. All of a sudden, you start talking patois. Like, whoa, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
I love it. Go ahead, Marlon.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna tell you. I wanted to, man. There's so many. First of all, let's talk about what made you, and I know you said you went to Penn State and you're having these conversations, but for the travelers, what made you click to say real estate? Even though you knew you had to get a job to sustain your lifestyle, you still said real estate. What pinpointed you, or what pointed you to that real estate?
So it's interesting. So I really was mesmerized and had no idea. Like, I'm in my 20s, and admittedly, I was amazed at how Donald Trump was just the man. And I figured that if this is the way that I kind of looked at things in my 20s, well, if that guy can do it, why can't I? But I didn't realize why he could do it.
He can do it.
And why I couldn't do it, right? So my first deal, all right. So I gotta go through, and I've been on a few podcasts. I gotta do the first deal. I gotta share it. So there's a property. So I'm in northern New Jersey, okay? In Patterson, New Jersey.
Okay, right? You know it.
Pretty not a little rough neighborhood. Okay, 142 Patterson Avenue was the first deal I did. I still remember it. And my father was like, "Hey, be careful. Be careful." I'm like, "Dad, I got this. I got this." So we walk, I go into this home. Okay, it's a duplex. And I go up the steps, and I'm with the real estate agent. And I'm looking onto the floor because he goes, "Oh, be careful, be careful." And there's no floor. There's literally joists going across the floor. So I said, "Hey," I said, are they gonna, before I buy this, are you guys
put the floor back?
Put the floor back. And the guy says, he goes, "Man, don't worry about flooring." He goes, "Nah." He says, "Yo, in this neighborhood, the tenants, they bring in their own subflooring." Hey, and in New Jersey, if you got a sucker stamped on your forehead, they don't give you a break. So I'm like, "Oh, bring it." I go, "Oh, they bring it." I can't envision people bringing in their own plywood, right? Nailing down the plywood for their apartment.
Their carpet.
Right, laying the carpet. Hey. And so that was the beginning of my real estate career. And so what I tell people is, if that's the way I started off, all right, that property, I was able to still, and then there was a real estate collapse when I bought the property. I think you probably pull it up in tax records. I bought it for, I think, $128,000. I had the seller to hold back a second because I really didn't have that much cash. Took a cash advance out on my credit card. I did everything possibly wrong, okay, in this transaction. And still, I was able to pay down rent it to the wrong tenants, because I'm worried about the mortgage payment, right, for the next month, because I just closed on it. So when you're looking for cash like that you need in 30 days, there's some people walking down the street, again, because it's a city, they needed a place to rent, and they actually had money in their hand. So I rented it to them. No credit check. I was like, "Oh, well, this at least gets me through like day 1 through 30. I wasn't worried about 30 through 60. So anyway, all of that to say, I was able to take that piece of property, held on to it. It finally started to make a little bit of, it always kind of broke even, but just kind of hovered along. But, market picked up a little bit. I was able to sell that property. I did something called a 1031 tax exchange.
Yeah.
Literally probably made about $60,000 off of it, which Doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it allowed me.
How many years later from buying it?
So honestly, it took about 10 years. So it was a long time. However, this is where it gets interesting. Okay. And it's not a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
I 1031 that into 8 units in Richmond. Okay. And those units right now have probably a little bit more than $1 million of equity. And they throw off thousands of dollars a month. So what I share is that this is something that took, now almost 30 years or probably 30 years, but it again generates thousands of dollars a month. And if that's where I wanted to stop and just have a comfortable lifestyle,
yeah,
I can be good off of a decision that I made with very little money. So why real estate? Let's go back to that, okay? Because I kind of went a little bit off the rails. Real estate allows the average American, the American that doesn't make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, allows them to generate wealth. And it allows them to generate wealth through leverage, like the individuals that make a substantial income. And so it's the leverage and appreciation. And you have to buy the right thing and manage it properly. But there is no other vehicle that the United States has allowed the average American to become incredibly wealthy and not have to worry about, where their bills, how they're going to pay their bills, when they want to retire. I mean, but you got to do it right. You got to be patient. Yep. That's one way to do it. The other way, which I can't do, is development and land speculation. And I don't do any of that. I take the kind of that slow road. For me, the slow road is the fast road.
Yeah. I understand you totally when you said you're in awe. I joined the Marine Corps in 2002, and coming from New York, Ricky's parents had a house. My father had a house. Well, his wife had a house, and she got it through her mother, and so. But the average person didn't have a house, or you were older and you had a house, or you had to move up. You had to move upstate from the city in order to own a home. You didn't really see somebody in the city owning a home. So real estate was never on my radar, right? I loved entrepreneurship, but real estate was never on my radar. And when I always tell this story, when I came back from Afghanistan, Iraq, 2005, and my boy said that he bought a house. I was like, you bought a house? How did you make that happen? And then I was like, whoever, I don't care what it is, whoever you did all your transactions with, just bring me to them. And I bought my first, in 2005, I bought my first condo down in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And I still have it till today. And it's probably, the equity in it is it's over 100,000, right? But the awe that I had for that, and when I saw that, and I was like, and I always tell this, I read half of Rich Dad Poor Dad, and something just clicked, and I said, okay, let me go start buying some real estate, right? And I can echo those sentiments about the vehicle to generational wealth, or wealth and generational wealth, and that real estate. I don't want to hog everything, Rick. I know you have some questions before we start diving into some deals.
That's real. So it's funny. I'll just share this with you. Hold 1 second.
All right.
So I have a bookshelf. I have bookshelves all over the place. I read, but hey.
There you go.
Sir.
Right?
There you go.
I mean, I got books all over, but this is a good one. This is a really exciting one. So
yes, it is.
That's a good book.
It's funny as you brought that book up and you just took it out. Someone gave me that book. My godfather actually gave me that book when I was 11. And I read the first chapter and I was like, man, this is a great book. But that was it. I didn't pick up the book again until I was 33,
Wow.
34. And I was like, what in the world did I do these last 20 years? I cannot believe this. Like, what did I miss right here? All this gold nuggets right here, man. But hey, timing is everything, right?
It's not too late. He had a board game. Let me tell you.
I got it.
The rabbit ring. But it was I think it was called the cash flow.
Cash flow
quadrant. The class. So let me just tell you.
Yeah.
So I was so obsessed with that game, and I would go play it with some friends. Matter of fact, some friends I just spoke with today who I've known for years, and and I actually named one of my partnerships quadrant. So one of our partnerships was quadrant, I think, properties based off of the cash flow quadrant.
Wow.
So, I was a huge. I'm still a huge believer in Robert Kiyosaki.
As you talk about that game, before I ask the question, I get so intense with that game. Like, there are times where I would take a current search scenario that I'm in and then place myself into the game and then say, all right, let's see how this plays out. And I'll play by myself sometimes. It's like, all right, let's keep rolling. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's see.
Hey, as long as you're not making multiple characters, Ricky, as long as hey, Bob, great. And then you're like,
But so, Kyle, you said something key, right? And I think it's a very important, and I know we're going to talk about, get more in depth in some other aspects of what you're doing, but I want to really pull this out for the listeners. Slow road versus the fast road. Your slow road is the fast road. That's what you said. In a society that we live in today, everything is that microwave society, where if I open up a business and if it's not turning over for me in 60, 90, 120 days, then or 30 days, right? It's not working, right? When was that switch in your head, or was it always, or what drove you to kind of embody that, hey, my fast road is the slow road? Because that's not a common thing for many people, especially nowadays.
It's not. I almost feel like I'm looking up at one of trying to see if I can find. Hold 1 second again. Let me just.
Oh,
see.
you good? Yeah.
If I can find. If I can't in a second, I'm not gonna, because I know we're on time here, but I can't. Oh gosh, where is that book?
Well, you're going. I see that Eagles jersey over there, man.
Man, go Birds!
You closer to New York than there, man. You should have went north and got the Giants, man.
I don't know. It's not, we're hey, they had a weird win last week, but you wouldn't have been saying that a week ago.
Yeah.
No, we had a weird win we had a good win on Sunday, boy. Woo.
After the Dallas drubbing.
Yes, sir. And
I'm not a Dallas fan.
Dallas gave us 40.
So here's what I would say. So there's a book that I have somewhere called The Compound Effect, and I'm a big reader.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I do, and I live my life like this. I look at what the next year is going to look like. Okay. And I take a look at it in small bites. So if I buy a piece of property, one of the ways to look at wealth, specifically with a home, is there 3 parts of wealth that real estate brings that I like to touch on. And I'll put on an index card. I'll put cash flow at the top. I'll put principal pay down, okay, and appreciation. right? How much cash am I getting? How much principal do I pay now? Because we can't feel that on your note,
Yeah.
right? You can't feel that.
Yeah.
And how much it appreciates. So if you had a home, it was $100,000 home, right? And you made $1,000 after all expenses, you paid down your note by $1,000 and appreciated your $1,000. Well, 2 out of the 3 you can't touch or feel. And so that is wealth, right? That we just don't have access to. Now you start doing that, then you get another home, then you get another home. You got to think long term. You got to think about, what does this look like 10 years from now? What does this look like 15 years from now? And so I'm very, I really, the other piece I'll do, and this is another book from Hal Elrod called The Miracle Morning, is I'll write down, I live this stuff. I'll write down, hey, these are the things I'm thankful for. Here are the goals for the week. This is what I've accomplished. And so I journal. And that allows me to really internalize what I want to accomplish, appreciate things that I've already accomplished. And that allows me to create a path for wealth. I write down what I want to accomplish in 2024. I've already started to write down, the vision and how do I execute. I keep things in front of me. I have a whiteboard over here and it talks about, so right now I have to deal, because I'm larger, I got to really focus on processes. And so what processes are we going to work on? What rhythms are we going to do? What are we going to do on a regular basis? So these are the things that I just continue to internalize really on a daily basis. And so this is how I live my life. And that's how I think you can have great accomplishments in your life, but it's discipline. It's doing it on a daily basis. It's getting up early when you really don't want to get up early. It's really doing the things that are difficult, but once you get in that rhythm, right, it's a little bit easier.
Man, I love you said that, man, because a lot of people, and the story of the tortoise and the hare was brought up this morning in the call I was in, and you got that person that gets up and starts sprinting towards the goal, and like, oh, I'm tired, then I'm going to take a break. Then you have that tortoise that's just slowly taking it step by step, brick by brick, they would say, or chopping wood, carrying water, whatever analogy you want to put towards it. And they get to that finish line, right? But the goal isn't necessarily to get to the finish line. The goal is in every step that they're taking, right? So what you just said there, the compound effect, right? The miracle morning, like, yes, you have these goals that you want to do for 2024, but you realize those cannot be accomplished if I don't focus on my miracle morning, if I don't focus on my compound effect. And I appreciate you kind of slowing down and sharing that part with us, because really most people, what you're doing slows down the world around you and allows you to focus on the things that are going to compound to give you what you need later on in life. So I appreciate you pausing. I want to make sure our listeners really heard what you said there. Go ahead, Marlon. Oh, go ahead.
I know you wanted to say, I could see you want to say something.
Go ahead.
So, it's funny, you talk about that. So the other piece is sharing. I think to really be successful also is it's sharing the things that you have learned with the people that work with you or for you, okay, to help them also be successful and help them reach their goals. And so we're always afraid that I shouldn't say we're always, it takes a while for us to say, well, shoot, I don't want to necessarily tell everybody exactly what I'm trying to accomplish, as if almost it's a big secret. And I think, as you become, I think to get to those next levels, you got to be a little bit vulnerable. Yeah. Right. You have to create that transparency and also help people to get to where they want to be. So I was reading, this is interesting. I'm a big football fan. I love coaching. I coach a little bit as well, and have some relationships with some different actually professional coaches, some NFL coaches. One of the things that we find interesting, so hands down, you hear so much about Bill Belichick.
Yes,
and
sir.
that big Bill Belichick has these processes, and that, I mean, he's going to manage each one of these processes. But I found this interesting as I was reading a book. There was a Bill Walsh from, the 49ers, and they're saying, well, what's the difference between Belichick, who clearly is one of the best coaches of all times, and Walsh? And what they were talking about were the disciples of each one of those coaches. And Belichick's coaches, okay, they're talking about Belichick is kind of secret, close to the hip, and so his disciples have struggled, whether it's the coach that went to, I don't want to call out names, but the coach that went to, Detroit and struggled, or the coach that went to Las Vegas and struggled, or there's a coach that went to Notre Dame and struggled. His coaches have really struggled. Now, it could be that it's just a different type of person that Belichick likes working for him, but Walsh's coaches did really well. And Walsh was really big on list and making sure he shared his vision and everything with the people he worked with. He had really successful coaches. So that I'm a really big proponent of just saying, hey, this is what we want to accomplish. And help me also help you to be successful. And so I want to understand the people that work for me, whether it's a subcontractor or an employee, or, it's a friend, whatever it is. I mean, try to help people, also attain success in their life.
In the vein of football, and in light of what happened Sunday morning, Saturday night, I don't know if you're watching. I was watching when.
Colorado?
Well, Colorado. How do you feel about how Prime is in the same vein of what you're talking about, sharing what Prime is doing with Coach Prime? We don't want to disrespect. We're going to call him Coach Prime.
Yeah.
Coach Prime is doing in terms of what he's bringing to Colorado. I just a little segment. I know we're going to get back on track with the real estate, but this can bring us right back in there.
Sure. So what I think he has done, Coach Prime. All right. First of all, and it's interesting you bring this up, because again, working with some people that were in the NFL, understand he can do things that other coaches cannot. Number one. So, right. Correct. So he has, a lot of people don't know, like, his guest speakers, his motivational speakers are individuals like Michael Irvin.
Yeah, exactly.
Warren Sapp.
Yeah,
right. He's able, like, I think
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Yeah. They go out and they go work with the Denver
Dwayne
Broncos.
The Rock Johnson.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So even if you're Nick Saban, you don't have that type of juice, right? So and he's been able to bring in 60, he got the number one recruit, right, for I think it was the number one recruit for the NCAA. Yeah, he was the number one recruit.
Yep.
Right.
And he's probably going to get the number one quarterback too, was over there just the other day.
Right. So, I mean, he can do some things, but you know what? He's good, right, at recruiting. And then what Coach Prime has done a great job is he has been able to bring on the best OCs, the best DCs, right? Yes, so he understands how to establish a team that knows X's and O's, and then he can recruit the Johnnies and Joes. So I think he's good for the sport. I think he's good for a lot of players. It is a business for him. Don't get it. It may not feel or look like that. I can assure you he gets it. And good for him.
Yes.
Good for him.
Yeah. And I just want, I don't know, Rick, if you're
no, go ahead. No.
Now that team, thank God that you brought there, because it just segued right into what I want to talk about. You having such a large corporation, I see you mentioned all the doors that you manage, and in 2008 you went to those financial institutions that were in distress because their backing was those real estate properties, and they saying, now I can't collect on this. Oh my goodness, I'm going to go under, whatever the situation, and you go in there to start managing and creating a way to get those funds from the people that's actually living in those houses or own them. How do you build a team now that helps you with that? And what are you looking for in that team when you're building it?
So, like anything that's an evolution. But I will say, oh man, I'm very fortunate that my direct reports right now are, it's the best team I've ever had. I think it's really, this is the stuff, I was a salesman, and in sales, right, I used to think all the corporate crap. I just was like, yo, man, I know I need to sell some implants today. I'm not worried about what's going on inside. I need this doctor to really like this implant, and I need to be a really good salesperson. I got to get this purchase order so I can get a commission. There's part of it that was okay. So I'm a salesperson, all right. That's what my background is. But what I've learned, okay, is that you really do have to grow and develop and to scale, and to do it right. You have to have core principles that you're going to live off of day in and day out. So I will start off meetings with, and I was trying to look for I usually have something where my meetings are tomorrow, where I'm just going to start reading off, hey, this is our vision right now, guys. And so, if we have integrity issues, those are non-negotiables. If we have individuals that really are struggling with integrity, we can't go there. If we have people that don't want to do better for themselves and don't want to generate wealth, that's not going to be a good fit for us here. And so, you look at resumes, and when you interview, even in where it's hard to pick up people right now, you ask, a certain number of questions and different types of questions to see what their tenacity is. See if they are the type of individuals that are going to be a good fit and they're going to interact. And so, we say, look, I had someone the other day, and they were like, well, are you hiring? It was something off of LinkedIn, and they were like, are you hiring? I may have said, if you're interested in interviewing, why don't you send me the resume? I don't remember how the conversation started. They're like, are you hiring? Or what positions you have available? I said, we don't have any positions available. I said, but that's not how we work as a company. You'll interview, all right, and if we think you'll be a good fit, it may be a courting period, or it may be a year. We had a guy who interviewed with us. We kept in touch with him. Great guy. He's been with me now for 8 years. And he interviewed with him. We didn't hire him until 2 years later, when we were like, look, this is the ultimate fit. That's the other part. We want people to be happy. So if I don't think you're going to be happy, then we're not going to hire you. Doesn't mean you can't do the job. I just need you to be happy, so I don't know if I'm completely answering the question, but you really got to get on board with our vision. And, we're going to work hard. We're going to play hard. We're gritty. We're not sexy. There's just certain things, we talk about here. And our goal is that you make more and more money every year. So if you come to me and that's not really what you're about, you're probably not going to be the right fit, because we want to grow and we want to develop professionally, financially, so these are things that we look at. Yeah.
I love it. Being intentional about who you hire that fits into the core values that, you had defined for yourself. And that's the only way that you can grow. Right. So as you've grown and matured in just your real estate endeavors, talk to that person that is looking now, like, man, I want to get into real estate, right? I need to, I need to do this.
Current. I love it.
Let's go to the current, What advice do you have for people in this current environment, economy, that are passionate, or I don't want to say passionate yet, but they're looking to get into the game?
So you're talking to someone who's not a monster risk taker. Okay. So if you think that you're going to like real estate, I always say you have to dip your toe in the water. And the best way to dip your toe in the water is a single family home. And if you're going to, you want to make sure, okay, that the rent that comes in is more than the mortgage. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do not say I'm going to buy something and then I'm just going to pay the mortgage and let the appreciation carry me away. Yo, if you want to do that, you can contact me. I'll figure out something else you can pay into. That's not the way real estate should work. So I know that it's difficult, all right now to find those things. But I also would say that try to manage it a year on your own. And if you don't like that, you can always look for professional management, but you need to have all 4 seasons. I need to understand what maintenance is like, or the tenant that claims they lost their job and can't pay you rent. And I mean, you need to experience all of that to see how much you like it. One of the things that, one of the questions that I ask people, and this is just when even we're interviewing, is if you could pick something you would do for free, okay, what would it be?
What would it be?
Like if you had a job that you could do for free, what would it be? And, some people, my wife thinks that real estate, even though it's been a provider for us, she thinks it sucks. She thinks the business sucks. She thinks she's like, oh my goodness, she goes, because the hot water heater, it doesn't go like that. Hot water heater doesn't leak during the hours of 9 to 5.
No, 12
it's
o'clock
like,
at night.
Yo, on Thanksgiving, Christmas.
That's AC, the HVAC went out.
Hey, last Christmas, we had a cold spell. We had freezing pipes blowing up on Christmas, right? So you gotta look at that and say, hey, that shouldn't bother me, because if it does, and you don't want to do this, but the point is, it's a great investment. You need to try it out. Don't get over your skis. Try it out. Dip your toe in the water. See if you like it. Get the mistakes. Like I said, hey, don't buy a rental thinking that the tenants are going to bring in their own subflooring, right? So get through some of the mistakes, and then you grow that business, and you either grow it with a management company or you grow it on your own. But that would be my suggestion. And I would say you can try to do it now. You try to do it next year. Just figure it out so that you're not hemorrhaging money, because that'll make it very uncomfortable for you.
Yeah. Now let's just spill a lot of the myth, because you were, or solidify some of the facts, because you went through 2008 and you're going through now. Yeah. So the first question is, what's the difference, so people understand about the subprime lending versus what's happening now in the real estate game? And also, people are saying, I'm not going to buy because I'm waiting for it to get back down to 2.3% interest. So talk about that kind of stuff for us.
I'm laughing because the 2.3
is not coming back.
I'm not. Hey, we could have another pandemic. We don't want that. But it could be, shoot, someone could drop a bomb. I don't want to say all these things, but but those have to be world changing things to be at 2.3%, right? The world has to be a lot different than now. So, so I would say one of the biggest differences between the financial crisis and now is we never got to the point where there was just like, I mean, that was a period where there was 100% leverage. You know, we were selling these notes. I don't want to get into, I know we've spent a lot of time on this podcast, so I don't want to get too deep, but the financial crisis was because we had just banking craziness. And so we don't have that right now. Okay. What we have right now is, you know, you could buy a $200,000 home and your note payment was less than $1,000, you know, principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
Yeah.
18 months ago.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's like 2x that.
Yeah.
And so, that is just, and so there's a video, okay, that I would encourage everybody to listen to. It's by Ray Dalio, and it's called How the Economy Works. That video is like financial porn. Okay. It talks about really what happens with short-term interest rates. You know, the fact that if our wages aren't growing at the same level as rates, is that at some point inflation, you know, we won't be able to meet our obligations. We're still not into a lot of defaults right now. So, I mean, the world isn't great. The cost to borrow money right now is absolutely bananas. At some point, yes, the market and rates will come down. And the reason, and I will mention this because I don't think people completely grasp this. So I'm going to say some pretty intense stuff right now. The government right now, okay, is 30 trillion in the hole. Okay, just think about if you had a $30 trillion bill, okay, debt obligation. It was 30 trillion, let's say a few years ago when the rates were 1%. To do the math, okay, their debt was 300 to 1% on 30 trillion is 300 billion. Okay. That's 25 billion a month in carrying costs. That's basically what they had to come up with. And they used tax revenue to do that. Yeah. Now that same bill is like 100 billion a month because they got to pay the same rates. They got because of the inflation, because of that they've had to increase these rates, these short-term rates. But their goal, they got to get that. They want to get that interest rate down too, because that's money that they have to pay. So they're as motivated as anybody else because they're paying an obscene amount of money right now for their debt as well. So, you know, what I think will happen is, you know, over the next year, and the other piece that I think that we're not taking into consideration is that wage inflation is still very healthy. We don't have enough people to fill jobs still. Okay. And so we still, as business owners, are willing to pay an employee more money. And we know we can pass that buck on still, all right, to the end user, to the customer. Yeah. At some point that may change, but I still don't think it's changing in the next month, in the next, you know, several months. So I will say over the next year to 2 years, it should, I mean, you'll see a pullback, but it's not happening like this year. So, you know, with that, if people still have more, if we have wage inflation, people still have a little bit more dough, they still can afford maybe a little bit more house. I don't see the market collapsing right now. And so, and if you're waiting for 2% interest rates, you will never buy another home, and you won't enter it. You won't enter into that market. You just won't. You know, so.
And more than now, and I know your time is valuable. I don't want to hold you too long.
We're good. I just want people to be excited. If they're not excited on this call, then
no. They're going to be excited. But these are current events.
Yeah.
And we're showing the dynamic of what was happening then to now, because some people they watch something on YouTube and they don't really understand or know people that were buying real estate back in 2008 and are buying real estate still that could compare and say, okay, this is what's happening.
Right.
Another thing that I see a lot, and you correct me if I'm wrong, with these these venture capitalists and all these different hedge funds, how they're actually
PEs.
affecting the housing market by them saying, you know what happened? My money in the stocks is not making me what I used to. Buying a whole development is really what's making me my money. Talk about it. I see you shaking your head.
Yeah. So let me just tell you. So it's
You say
funny.
you
So
do management for some of those, right?
we do that, and I mean, we know venture capitalists, and yes. So here's the thing I will share with people. This is another nugget that if they take this information. So if you buy a piece of property right now that works at 7% or 8%, when you remember we talked about what works means, I'm not feeding it. It's at least paying for itself.
Yeah.
All right.
Correct.
I know that the government eventually, this isn't a political statement, the government wants to get the rates to come down eventually, right? We want to reduce inflation because they have debt service that they need, right? Mm-hmm. So we know rates are coming down. So when they come down, if they work at 8%,
imagine
it's
5.
Definitely gonna work. 5.
Oh, oof. And here's the thing where people are like, look, this is the math that we really need to understand. If it goes from 8, down to 6, right? That's a 25% haircut, or 30, whatever that number is. It's not 2 percentage points. It's chunks of money. Correct. Chunks. If you go from 8 to 4, you've cut your cost of borrowing by half.
Yes. The same way how it worked for the inflation, that the 200,000 that we're talking about 2x'd, now just reverse it and you're in the same deal. How much more revenue you would be pulling in.
That's right. So the deals that we did, let's say that we had at 8%, right? That now people, oh, Kyle, you're a flipping genius. The deals are at 4% now. You time the market. I don't know if I time the market, man. I mean, it's cyclical, and the cost of money was X, and now it's X divided by 2. Yeah. And so those are. And so, one of the things I always share also, you asked me about, what, one of the things also that I get excited about real estate is real estate during inflationary times, right? Freaking, you're leveraging it. It's going off the flipping barometer, right?
Yes, sir.
It's just going, it is off the chain. So one of the things I thought, especially when I was younger, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was like, oh man, all I got to do is own a bunch of real estate and wait for the market, right, to turn into the 80s, which I never, or turn like, that's where, now all of a sudden, if I lock in my rates and the market just goes bananas, I get to rise up with the tide. So I'm not doing anything again. That all I'm doing is hanging in there, using my little index card. That's all I'm doing. And then I'm letting time and the markets and the inefficiencies of markets, help me out. That's all I'm doing. And so it's patience. It's sitting down. It's writing on an index card. It's journaling. It's reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's being thoughtful. It's, it's about caring about people and helping other people. All of this is what gets you, to be successful. But it's hard when you're in the hustle, and I've also been where I'm like, again, this was during rough time. I was like, well, I'd like to go through the toll booth, but I really don't have any change. So I guess, right now I have a full tank of gas. So I'll take the extra 15 minutes and go the scenic route.
Oh, I've been there. I've been there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've been there.
You know what's funny? You talk about that. I'll just talk about my house that I have in Florida. I have a house in Florida I bought 2010. And in ignorance, I was being in the military. I always say this, being in the military, I was ignorant to the fact of what was really happening around me. because even though the financial crisis and everything was happening when I joined, I'm getting paid on the 1st and the 15th, regardless of what's happening. Just like everybody's thinking there's going to be a shutdown. I don't know when they're going to hear this. If it's during the shutdown, I know I'm going to get paid on the 1st and the 15th, regardless of what's happening, because I'm active duty. So when I went to buy my house in Florida, when I went there, I saw a house. They said the value of the house was $300,000, but now it's going for $150,000. I was like, man, that's a deal coming from the hood, coming from New York.
Yeah,
that's a deal.
Well, 150 in itself is a deal because you're like, oh wow,
Yeah,
like
I was like, wow,
yeah.
right? So I bought it, lived there. I still have it. That thing is worth $400,000 now.
Yeah, just saying, you're a happy man,
right?
You're a happy man.
So just like you said, my concept, I just bought it, and I'm just like, oh, what's happening? And that the economy down there, they're building up around that thing like crazy. Every time I see it or I hear people that's living down there, they're like, man, you can't even find a house down here now for less than 500,000. I said, man, sorry to hear that. And then I look at my
Zillow. Look at you, Zillow. You're like, let me see.
I go to Zillow or I go to my back end thing that I still have my note, and I say, oh man, because it shows, man, they call me all the time, Mr. Man, don't you want to pull some equity from this house? Or Mr. Man, don't you want to do this? Or Mr. Man, don't you want to sell this house? How many people I get to sell the house? So just like what you're talking about with the cyclic ebony flows of the economy, people got to understand and start really studying for it and stop listening to these fly-by-night guys that's just selling you some kind of, we know the salesman. I'm a salesman too. I was a recruiter in the brain.
Hey, that's the big sale right there, baby.
Yeah, right.
Hey, but I appreciate, all kidding aside, serving and defending this country is something that I am obscenely appreciative of. So much respect, and much respect for you, recruiting people to do the same thing, because that's a sale.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So what's Rick? I don't want to hog it, Rick. Go ahead, Rick. Sorry, I love it because I got one where I want to close on, so I want him to circle back around to something. Okay,
so keep going right there, and then we'll now come in.
Yep. So I'm figuring and this is just a little thing. Kyle, Stevenson. I know that the K and the S. What's the R?
R was my father's name, who I lost several years ago. Russell.
Oh man, sorry to hear about that.
It's
Russell.
all good,
okay.
Man. It was a good run, right? I'm very appreciative and blessed he was with me and for so long, and instilled a lot of the values I have. So all good. Yeah. Kyle Russell Stevenson.
Okay. All right. All right. So
KRS nothing remarkable.
I like it. I love it. I love it. What do you see on the horizon for your for KRS Holdings for 2024?
Wow. So it's interesting you bring, so I'm working on that, right? So this is something I've been going through because it's at a real interesting point. I think that we're going to be helping. I know for a fact we're going to be helping more lenders and servicers, because there are individuals that bought things and mismanaged them, or they had financing. They thought the rents were going to go up by 50% and they didn't. And the lender thought the same thing. And so, we're going to be helping some lenders out for sure. We don't know how many deals. We're still working on just people who are struggling a little bit and managing their stuff. And so I think it's just going to be a function of doing a lot more third-party property management. The other piece is really helping people to understand their goals. So we are working with we're starting to work with more distressed owners, quite frankly, and trying to understand, okay, what do you truly want to accomplish? And let's see if we can help you do that, or, at least help you from staying out of trouble. So that's what we got going on. Nothing ridiculously remarkable next year.
Yeah, but for people that's listening, Rick, before you go through that, for people that's listening, if you don't understand, KRS Holdings manages over $500 million of real estate asset.
Yeah.
So don't think when he's saying, "Oh, we're just gonna help out," or "We're gonna manage some," that you're thinking like, "Oh, he's he's getting 3 more properties."
Jim and Mary's. So it's funny, right? Because I need to do a better job. As I said, sometimes the credibility. Yeah. So we so for us, I mean, we probably will pick up another several hundred units in management. We may do so we have that we would do a syndication. So we're going to try to find something that is a few hundred units in size and purchase it.
So you do syndications yourself.
So I will, but I don't do a lot. I may do them, one a year, one every other year. And so the goal for us usually with a syndication is we will, and then I invest more money than anybody else. I do a little bit differently than what some people they go, oh, well, I'm put this together and you give me a piece of the action. No, I invest alongside of somebody. I put my money where my mouth is. And but then I get ultra focused on trying to fix that deal, whatever that deal is, and then we move on to another one. So I try not to, again, as we said, Ricky, I don't get over my skis. I make sure that I, before I take my eye off of something, I say take my eye off of it, focus on something else that is distressed, that everything is running as smoothly as budgeted or anticipated. So I do that. Yeah,
man. There's so much, I could hold you here for hours because when you talk about this, when you talk about the stress, some people don't understand. And can you explain to those people that are looking for either commercial real estate or even residential real estate why distressed?
Oh, because distress for me is where we can create the greatest return. So we'll buy stuff. I mean, ripe. I mean, we did a deal where we bought a 52 unit community. All right. So a fairly small one, but we had to evict or non-renew 49 of the 52 people. I mean, it was nasty, but you can then, go in, fix all of the units up and rent them. We do blue collar housing, so we can do clean, safe, affordable housing. So now that property admittedly took a couple years because people had their heels dug in. I mean, they've been living there. I mean, it was funky. And now it's a thriving community. So it brings a lot of fulfillment, but it also brings the most upside. So we love doing that. And it makes a difference in the community, which is one of our, big missions. So we really, really, really love that. So, but we'll buy stuff that, the plumbing, you got stuff backing up into people's tubs and nobody's really paying any rent and got, 200 cats all over the damn property. You're like, you got like a zoo. I mean, you got a zoo on the property. You didn't know you had a petting zoo, and so, I mean, it's, so got people, I got one, man, we had one, the people living in an apartment had a tent outside, literally with an electric cord. They said that was my goodness. They said that was their, what did they say? Something like it was like the family room. I said, the family room? Hey, it was a tent. I wish I could show you a picture of it. I was like, whoa, yeah. Tent with a generator outside blowing heat because it was winter time. I was like, yo, whoa.
Man, you in the living room, man. Shoes off.
Yo, a tent. I was like, woo. Anyway, wow. I got stories. I got stories, man. So anyway.
Tell me about it. I had to sell 3 of my properties in Detroit just because I did not like how the tenant laws in Detroit are too much in the tenant's favor. I talked to the congresswoman, which is funny enough, is Elon, what's her name? Omar,
from New York.
But no, not AOC.
Oh, okay, guys, because she's interested too.
Yeah, but the other, she's run Detroit, and when I was like, listen, you cannot. I sent a letter. And I was like, listen, I need to sit down and talk to you. But it was COVID. It was COVID time. I was like, you cannot. And let me tell you a quick thing. So if you have the property, if you have a property in Detroit, and tell me if I know you've seen this all the time because you're way bigger than me. So, so the tenant lives there. For whatever reason, I kick out the tenant. Not kick out, I legally get the tenant to move. They have been running an electric bill for almost $3,000. The electric company comes and calls me and says, "Hey, Madden Enterprise." I was like, "Yeah, Madden Enterprise LLC. Yes, ma'am. How you doing? This is such and such. I think it's Dominion or whatever they have down there." They're like, "We're calling to collect a debt." I said, "A debt for where?" They tell me the property. I said, "Oh, definitely. What debt are you wanting to collect?" They said electric, and I was like, "Oh yeah." I said, "I'm willing to pay it. I'm very willing to pay that debt." I said, "Can you send me the contract that I signed that said that I was gonna take on you as a electrical company?" They're like, "Sir, we don't have that. That was with such and such." I said, "Exactly. So that's who you need to go back to try to get this debt. You can't call me because I'm the owner of the property. Why did you let this person run up a $3,000 something bill?" "Well, sir, that's how it works in Detroit." I said, No. You have been getting over, but you're not going to get, we need to take some legal actions on this. And so they went and they sent me a letter. It was just the other day, I was doing some taxes too. I saw a letter that they said that they sent me a letter that said, "Hey, you are Madden Enterprises no more eligible." And I'm like, how could you let this happen? These people. So I sold all three of them that I had. I had a 2 single and a duplex, and I was doing that just because I know what's happening in Detroit. And go ahead.
I won't even. And look, I could outdo you. I won't even bring it up because I don't want any municipality talking. I'll say this, because we literally, I mean, we almost have like attorneys on speed dial for utility matters. Yes. Because it's unbelievable what sometimes utility companies. But here's what I would encourage people to do is if they take a look. I don't know about the electric, but I can say that if you take a look at like municipal audits, you will realize how, which is public knowledge, you will realize there are municipalities that have been out of compliance on utilities since the 90s.
Yes.
Literally, you have, I won't even, again, it is amazing. So I think to your point, it's important to understand your real estate business. You learn it through the real estate that you own. You dip your toe in the water. All right. And these are the things so that if somebody, you go, "Man, I want a management company to help me." Right. These are things that if you understand what the fee is related to, because a lot of things, oh, it's easy. The money comes in and then the management company just take a percentage and wow, this is like the easiest job in the whole wide world. And they don't. And so, but this is all of the crap that you deal with on oh my goodness. So so I totally get it. I know Ricky, like, man, we're gonna do this thing, man, till like till like 1 a.m. No, dude.
I'm in it, man.
Ricky's gonna go get a cup of coffee.
Like, hey guys, I'll be back. Go to the
hey, let me get some Starbucks dark, man. I need that dark roasted, man, to keep it going, baby. I'm sorry.
No. You're good, man. You know, it's as you're continually talking, is like there's really adding on to as we're start wrapping it up, man. You know, there's really adds on to the color of a lot of people are hearing kind of the nuances of things that you travel to, and I'm glad this is the first time Marlon, you know, shares he has real estate, but he doesn't really get a chance to go have a deep dialogue about it and share some of the stories. So it was great for him to actually get out and start sharing some of that as well.
Oh, you're giving me my therapy, Ricky? You're letting me have my therapy?
Yeah, I'm letting him his therapy.
Everybody to open up.
Listen, Kyle, he was supposed to write a book about all this stuff like 4 years ago, and he still hasn't finished it yet, you know? I can't be mad because we were supposed to get one done by this month, but we
you know why? Because
So much stuff
he didn't listen to my goal planning. But now he's going to take baby steps. He's going to at least do 1 to 2 sentences over the next week. It'll add up. That's the compound effect.
Yeah, there we go.
Sir.
There we go.
Sir. There we go. I have no excuse. I have no excuse.
There you go, baby.
Kyle said.
So here it is, man. We're gonna close it with this. Usually we'll go back and say, "Hey, Kyle, we pick a younger Kyle back in the day, and speak to him for 60 seconds about knowing what you know now, what you would do." But I actually want to go back to a point you said, and we I brushed over it because we were talking about something else. But you said it's not too late. Talk to that individual that's listening to this and they're like, man, I guess I got to find something else because it's too late for me. Right. Talk to that person.
So I will say, number one, never compromise your life goals. Actually, period. Never compromise your life goals. If there are things you truly want to do, and there's always been a timing issue, but if you really, really want to do it, I'm just going to tell you, you have to make the decision. Decision in Latin is kind of to sever, to just move on and do what you really want to do, that love. And, if it works out, right, I don't think at any point you'll have no regrets, because if it works out, all right, you obviously don't have any regrets. And even if it didn't work out, you now know, right, that you're not going to die, right? Exactly. At least you try, but you got to be all in. And, there are times where I tried to do all in a few years earlier, but I wasn't really all in because I had my resume out. Like, I did it, but like after a few weeks, I was like, this hurts. I don't have a paycheck. I don't have a life preserver, and I just couldn't do it. Right. And so I was like, I'm gonna put my resume out. You got to be all in and say, I'm never going back. So the second time I did it. So, and I only did it for like 6 months. I was like, I was like, and my wife, I wasn't all in. The second time I was all in. Shoot, couldn't have been a worse time. It was 2007, 2008. Right. But I was all in. And that's why I started calling on banks and saying, I can help, because I said, I don't have a choice. I'm all in. So I got to figure out a way, even though we just had a financial collapse, that I'm going to make it in real estate. So you got to be all in. So just no regrets. Don't, just that would be my take. It's never too late. It's never too late. I'll share this because it was again, I read a lot of books. Maybe it was a podcast I listened to. Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett, now don't get me wrong, dude has not been poor for a long time. Okay, so it's all relative. Okay, but I'm going to start off though. Warren Buffett, and I know this is, you're like, Kyle, Warren Buffett, when he was in his 50s, all right, was worth like 55 million. Now that's a lot. Okay, I'm not. I want to make sure anybody. Hey, listen, that's a lot. That's a lot of cheese. Okay. However, right, at 55, if he's worth 50 million, that dude is worth like 90 billion right now. Right. So if he was at 55, and now you kind of look, you go, man, I mean, that's a ridiculous return. My point being, that guy was close to retirement before he really took off into the billionaire world.
Yes, sir.
So just it's not too late.
Yes, sir.
It's not, but you got to be all in, and you got to love it. You got to have a passion for it, right? Got to be able to want to talk about it all night long. Got to want it.
Let me do that calculation. So if I have $55 Let me see how much.
So if I had, let's see, these 2 quarters in my back pocket, hey, if I had the 50 cent, I'd have like $100 here. I'd have this Ben Franklin over here.
There we go. Oh man. Oh man, this has been great, man. This has been amazing. I really appreciate it.
Did you guys have a good time? I had a blast.
Man, this is a blast,
hopefully
man.
your listeners are gonna have a blast.
Listen, man,
if the travelers don't have a blast,
listen, I took some jokes out of here, man. He said you couldn't finance a breath mint.
Yo, you couldn't finance a breath mint, baby. Woo!
This joker said you couldn't borrow a stick of gum in 2008. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was rough times, man. That was rough times right there, boy.
Dude, no, we had a good time, really good time, and I know our listeners did. Listeners, travelers, man, we wouldn't be here without you, and we just want to pause and just thank Kyle for just sharing his wisdom and his journey. His journey, man. That's it. This is his journey, and one thing I love what he said. He said his slow road was the fast road, and for some of you guys, you need to adopt that. You know, not looking for the immediate results tomorrow, man. This is not an instant life. This is a life that needs to be nice and cured and take its time and in the slow cooker, and let it really get like. Oh man, I was listening to something TD Jakes he said last week. He said, you know, when you're cooking, you're learning how to cook. You're seasoning the meat, right? He said, but when you get experience, you start seasoning the bone. And he said the only way to season the bone is you let the stuff marinate a lot longer.
Yes, sir.
I was like, yeah, yeah. So we want you guys to have your bones seasoned in life, man. And you do that by taking it step by step, taking your time and making the right decisions along the way. You guys, thank you so much for joining us on the Success Journey Show. Kyle, thanks for joining us as a guest. And we'll see everybody next week at the same time, the same place on the Success Journey Show. Everyone have a good one.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.